my friends. Imagine the feeling of being a faithful and sincere wife, only to be publicly humiliated by your own husband's mistress. Just because of her simple appearance, Amelia was scolded and forbidden from touching a luxury handbag. A sharp voice hissed at her not to touch it, that it was expensive, that she would never be able to afford it. That was the insult she received, while her husband, Jason, joined in with a satisfied laugh. The pain was immense. But my friends, the wheel of life turns very quickly. They had no idea who Amelia really was. In 30 minutes, their laughter would turn into lifelong shame and regret when Amelia walked onto the stage and took the microphone. What would Amelia say? And what would become of those arrogant people? Now, before we get into this meaningful story, please support this channel so we can continue creating content by pressing the like and subscribe buttons now. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. The clinking of silverware against porcelain plates echoed loudly in the magnificent dining room, yet the atmosphere within felt cold and tense. Amelia, a woman who had been awake since the early morning to prepare all the household needs, now stood motionless beside the dining table. She wore a simple, faded house dress, its colors slightly dulled from frequent washing. Her hair was tied back messily, revealing a neck damp with sweat from cooking. Before her sat the two people she respected most, yet who also inflicted the most wounds upon her heart. Carol, her mother-in-law, stared at the bowl of oatmeal Amelia had made with a look of disgust, as if the food was unworthy of entering her mouth. Meanwhile, Jason, her husband, was engrossed in his smartphone, not even glancing at the wife who had served him with all her heart. "Amelia, did you even try when you made this?" Carol's sudden question made Amelia jump. The middle-aged woman pushed the bowl away, causing some of it to spill onto the expensive silk tablecloth. "What's wrong, Carol? Is the taste not right?" Amelia had tasted it earlier and thought it was fine. She answered in a soft voice, trying to calm the frantic beating of her heart from the outburst. "It's not about the taste," Carol snapped. Her eyes scanned Amelia's appearance from head to toe with a look of contempt. "Look at you. Are you the wife of a director at a leading real estate development firm, or a maid who just arrived from the countryside? It's early morning and you already smell of onions, your clothes are shabby, your hair is a mess. Aren't you embarrassed for the neighbors to see you?" Amelia looked down at her bare feet. She was sorry, she said. She hadn't had time to shower because she had to finish Carol's mountain of laundry and then cook immediately so Jason wouldn't be late for breakfast. "Excuses!" Carol sneered, waving a hand in front of her nose as if shooing away a bad smell. "Jason gives you enough money for groceries. Why don't you use it for some self-care? Buy some decent clothes. Don't embarrass my son. If guests come over and see you like this, they'll think Jason is cheap with his wife. But in reality, you're just unsophisticated and can't take care of yourself." Amelia could only swallow her pain. The grocery money Jason gave her each month was always just enough, because Carol always asked for a large portion of it for her socialite luncheons or to buy trendy new purses. Amelia never complained. She always made the remaining money stretch to cover their kitchen needs. Jason finally put his phone down on the table with a clatter. He took a sip of his coffee and then looked at Amelia with a gaze just as cold as his mother's. There was no morning smile, no word of thanks. "Mom is right, Amelia," Jason stated flatly. "The day after tomorrow, there's a charity luxury handbag exhibition. I received a VIP invitation. Mom is coming with me. You have to come too, because she'll need someone to carry her things. But please, throw away these rags. Wear something decent. I don't want my business associates asking who the homeless person is that I brought into the venue." Amelia's heart sank. His words were like a sharp knife piercing her soul. She was considered homeless by the man who once promised to cherish her. But Amelia, long trained in an ocean of patience, simply nodded slowly. "Yes, Jason. I'll find something appropriate to wear," she replied obediently. Jason stood up, smoothing his expensive, sleek suit jacket. He picked up his briefcase without saying goodbye or kissing his wife's forehead, as most married couples would. "Let's go, Mom. I'll drop you off at your luncheon on my way to the office. The air in this house is suffocating, it's making me sick." Carol immediately beamed, her stern face melting into sweetness when speaking to her son. "Now that's my boy. Let's go, honey. I can't stand being here much longer either. I'm afraid I'll catch the smell of onions." The two of them walked out, leaving Amelia still standing by the dining table. The roar of Jason's luxury car faded from the driveway, leaving behind a painful silence. After making sure her husband's car was truly gone, Amelia's tense shoulders slowly relaxed. The look of obedience and fear on her face changed drastically. Her gaze became sharp, intelligent, and authoritative. The weak Amelia was gone. She walked calmly to the sink, washed her hands, and then reached into the pocket of her house dress. She pulled out a slim, latest model smartphone, one whose price was more than her husband's entire suit. There was an incoming call from a contact named Chloe. Amelia swiped the screen and brought the phone to her ear. Her tone of voice changed, becoming firm and confident, a stark contrast to how she spoke with her in-laws and husband. "Hello, Chloe. How are the preparations for the exhibition?" Amelia asked directly. A cheerful woman's voice came from the other end. "Everything is set, Miss Amelia. The VIP tickets for Mr. Jason and his mother have been sent as per your instructions. They have no suspicion that the invitation came from you. Oh, and about our centerpiece collection, the Queen's Dignity handbag is ready for display in the main showcase, behind bulletproof glass as you requested." Amelia smiled faintly, a smile filled with deep meaning. "Good. Make sure security is tight. I hear Jason will be bringing his mother and possibly someone else. Let them in. I want to see just how far they will go to humiliate me this time." "Understood, Miss Amelia. Oh, and are you sure you want to attend with your usual appearance? I mean, disguised as a wife who has nothing?" Chloe asked cautiously. Amelia glanced at her reflection in the living room mirror. A worn-out house dress, a face without makeup. But beneath it all, she was the majority shareholder of several renowned fashion corporations, concealing her identity to test her husband's loyalty. And unfortunately, Jason failed that test every single day. "Yes, Chloe, I will come as the Amelia they know, the wife they call unsophisticated and smelling of onions. Let them laugh all they want, because that will be their last laugh before I take back what is rightfully mine," Amelia replied coldly. "Prepare everything, Chloe. When I step onto that stage, make sure my microphone is turned on loud. The world needs to know who truly sits on the throne." Amelia ended the call. She looked back at the untouched oatmeal on the table. She picked up the bowl and carried it to the kitchen. Her heart ached from being treated like trash, but her logic remained clear. Her patience was not weakness. It was her meticulously crafting the perfect scenario to teach Jason and Carol a lesson they would never forget for the rest of their lives. The game had just begun. The sun had begun its descent, casting an orange glow upon the city's skyscrapers. In a lavish restaurant on the 20th floor of a 5-star hotel, Jason sat with a wide smile. Across from him was not Amelia, his loyal wife waiting at home, but Rachel, a young woman with a very flashy appearance. Rachel wore a fiery red dress that exposed her smooth shoulders, complete with sparkling jewelry around her neck and wrists. To the untrained eye, Rachel looked like the daughter of a tycoon or a high-ranking official. However, no one knew that the sparkle from her necklace was merely synthetic crystal, and the designer bag she placed on the table was a high-quality counterfeit she bought from the black market. "You look absolutely beautiful today, Rachel," Jason complimented, his eyes glued to her. "The stress of my day at the office just melts away when I see you." Rachel giggled coyly, covering her mouth with a hand adorned with expensive-looking nails. "Oh, Jason, you're too sweet. I got all dressed up just for you. I know you must be stressed with that big project. It's so different from being at home, where you have to look at the same old boring sight." Jason let out a long sigh, his face souring at the thought of his home. "Don't talk about her. I dread going home every day. My wife, Amelia, has absolutely no taste. I give her money, but she still looks shabby. She thinks managing a household is some great achievement. A man needs a refreshing sight for his eyes, like you." Rachel smiled victoriously. She moved her chair closer to Jason and gently touched his arm. "Be patient, honey. You're a great man, a successful director. You deserve a partner who you can take to parties, someone who can talk about business and lifestyle, not someone who only knows the price of groceries." Jason's phone buzzed. The name Mom appeared on the screen. He answered immediately. It was Carol, asking to be picked up from her socialite luncheon because her personal driver had suddenly called in sick. "Come on, Rachel. Let's go pick up my mom. She'll be thrilled to meet you. She couldn't stop praising the photos I showed her of you yesterday," Jason said enthusiastically. Rachel nodded quickly. This was a golden opportunity to further secure her position in Jason's family. She quickly checked her purse to make sure the small gift she had prepared was there. Half an hour later, Jason's luxury car pulled up to the lobby of the cafe where Carol and her friends were gathered. Carol got into the car with a pout for having to wait, but her expression instantly brightened when she saw who was in the front passenger seat. "Hello, Mrs. Carroll," Rachel greeted with a voice made as sweet as possible, kissing Carol's hand respectfully. "Oh my, you must be Rachel. Gracious, you're even more beautiful in person," Carol exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she took in Rachel's glamorous appearance. "Look at your dress, your bag. Wow, you just scream class. You must come from a wealthy family." Rachel blushed and retrieved an elegant little package from her purse. "Auntie, this is a little something for you. I was out shopping the other day and saw this scarf, and I immediately thought of you. It's imported silk. It would look perfect against your skin." Carol accepted the package with trembling hands, overwhelmed with joy. When she opened it, she saw a scarf with a pattern strikingly similar to a famous European brand. Without examining its authenticity, Carol immediately draped it around her neck. "Oh, it's gorgeous! Thank you, dear. You're not only beautiful but also so kind and thoughtful," Carol praised to the heavens. She then shot a pointed look at Jason, who was driving. "See, Jason? Rachel isn't even my daughter-in-law yet, and she's already so generous. Not like your wife at home. Forget gifts, she counts every last penny of the change from the groceries. So stingy." Jason chuckled, proud that his mother approved of his choice. "I know, Mom. Rachel is on a completely different level than Amelia." Throughout the drive, the three of them chatted and laughed, planning a future as if Amelia didn't exist. Rachel skillfully fabricated stories about her father's fictitious business and connections to powerful people she didn't actually know, leaving Carol and Jason even more captivated by the dream of wealth and power they could gain if Jason were with her. The clock in the living room showed 10 p.m. when the sound of a car finally entered the garage. Amelia, who had been sitting on the sofa sewing a loose button on Jason's work shirt, quickly stood up. She straightened her house dress and hair, trying to greet her husband and mother-in-law with her best smile, even though her stomach ached from having not eaten while waiting for them. The door opened. Jason and Carol walked in with cheerful faces, but their smiles vanished the moment they saw Amelia standing there to greet them. "You're home, Jason." "Carol, would you like me to prepare dinner?" "I made your favorite beef stew." "Carol." Amelia greeted softly, reaching for Carol's handbag to carry it for her. "Don't bother," Carol snapped, pulling her arm away. She arrogantly adjusted the scarf from Rachel around her neck. "We had a wonderful dinner at a 5-star restaurant with Rachel. The food was much better than your cooking, which always has the same old seasoning. And don't touch this scarf. Your hands are rough. You'll snag the threads." Amelia withdrew her hand. She looked at Jason, hoping for a shred of defense or at least a warm greeting, but Jason simply walked past her, loosening his tie. The strong scent of a woman's perfume wafted from his suit a mix of rose and vanilla, completely different from the soap he usually used. "Jason," Amelia called out quietly. Jason paused without turning around. "I'm tired, Amelia. Don't ask so many questions. Just prepare some hot water for my shower. Hurry up, don't be slow." Amelia watched her husband's back as he climbed the stairs, then turned to see Carol admiring herself in the mirror with the new scarf. "Do you see this, Amelia?" Carol flaunted, pointing to the scarf. "This is a gift from Rachel. She's a classy woman who knows how to please her mother-in-law. Not like you, who only knows how to raise my blood pressure. You should look in the mirror. Jason deserves a diamond, not a common stone like you." Carol laughed mockingly and walked to her room, leaving Amelia alone in the vast, suffocating living room. Amelia took a deep breath, holding back the tears that threatened to fall. She knew exactly what scarf Carol was wearing. It was a crude knockoff of a famous brand's autumn collection. Coincidentally, the brand's parent company was one of Amelia's business partners. The stitching was uneven at the edges, and the color was a shade duller than the original. "Rachel," Amelia whispered the name for the first time with a cold tone. You think you can buy my family with counterfeit goods? Go ahead, enjoy your temporary victory. The higher you fly on your lies, the harder you will fall when I bring you down. Amelia turned off the living room lights. In the darkness, she did not cry. Instead, she walked purposefully to the kitchen to prepare the hot water her husband had ordered. She would fulfill her duties as a wife perfectly until the very last second, so that when the time came, they would have no grounds to blame her. Amelia's patience was not a sign of foolishness. It was the calm before the great storm she was about to unleash. That morning, an unexpected guest arrived at Jason's house. A courier in a neat uniform from a premium logistics company handed a thick black envelope, adorned with gold ink, to Carol, who was relaxing on the patio. The envelope felt heavy and expensive, exuding an air of luxury even before it was opened. For Mr. Jason Crawford, Carol read with sparkling eyes, rushing inside and shouting for her son. "Jason! Jason, come down quickly! There's an important delivery for you!" Jason, who had just finished dressing for work, hurried down the stairs. Amelia, who was mopping the floor near the staircase, quickly moved aside to not block her husband's path, but Jason didn't even glance at her. His eyes were fixed on the envelope in his mother's hand. "What is it, Mom?" he asked curiously. "Look at this, son. The envelope itself is so lavish, the contents must be something special," Carol said enthusiastically, handing it over. Jason carefully broke the red wax seal on the back. He pulled out a clear acrylic invitation card with elegant gold engraving. His eyes widened as he read its contents. "Oh my God, Mom, this is a VIP invitation to the charity luxury handbag exhibition," Jason exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. "This is the most prestigious handbag event of the year. I heard only tycoons, A-list celebrities, and top business leaders are invited. I can't believe my name is on their exclusive guest list." Carol clapped her hands in delight. "Wow, that's amazing, son. That means you're officially recognized as one of the truly wealthy, so there will be lots of expensive bags there, like the ones celebrities carry on TV, right?" "Absolutely, Mom. There will also be an auction for rare bags. If we go, our social status will skyrocket. My business network could expand immensely," Jason explained, flipping the invitation over. "It says here the invitation is valid for 3 people. A sly smile slowly formed on Carol's lips. She glanced at Amelia, who was still hunched over her mop, then looked back at Jason. 3 people. Perfect. 1 for you, 1 for me, and the last one obviously has to be for Rachel." Jason nodded in agreement without hesitation. "Yes, Mom, Rachel would be thrilled to go to an event like this. She understands fashion, so she won't embarrass us, and she always looks incredible. Perfect to have on my arm on the red carpet." Suddenly, Carol's brow furrowed as if she had a thought. She looked at Amelia again, this time with a demeaning gaze, like she was looking at junk in an attic. "Wait a minute, Jason," Carol interjected. "If it's just the 3 of us with Rachel, who's going to carry our things? You know how I get when I see beautiful bags. I'll go on a shopping spree. Rachel will probably buy a lot too. We can't have a beautiful woman like Rachel carrying shopping bags. It would wrinkle her dress and ruin her hands. And you'll be busy shaking hands with your colleagues. You can't be our porter." Jason paused, considering his mother's words. "You're right, Mom. So what should we do?" Carol pointed at Amelia with her chin. "Bring her." Jason stared in shock, as if it were the most ridiculous idea he'd ever heard. "Amelia? Bring Amelia to a luxury exhibition? Mom, are you serious? Look at her, she's so unsophisticated. She'll just make us a laughingstock among all the rich people there. I won't have my reputation ruined just because I brought a wife who can't dress herself." "Oh, you're not thinking clearly," Carol chided, walking over to Amelia. She looked down at her daughter-in-law arrogantly. "Listen, Jason, we're not bringing her as a guest to accompany you. We're bringing her purely to be an assistant to carry bags, fetch drinks, or save our seats. We'll have her walk behind us, never beside us. That way, people won't think she's your wife. We'll just say she's a new maid." Amelia, who had heard the entire conversation, felt her heart being squeezed tightly. She was being treated as nothing more than manual labor by her own husband and mother-in-law. Yet, she maintained her flat, obedient expression. She knew this was part of her plan. The invitation was, in fact, sent by her through Chloe, and she had anticipated this very scenario where they would force her to come along as their servant. Jason seemed to weigh his mother's idea. Finally, he nodded in agreement. He strode over to Amelia, who stood frozen. "Hey, Amelia, did you hear that?" Jason barked. Amelia lifted her face to meet her husband's eyes. "Yes, Jason, I heard. The day after tomorrow, you're coming with us. But remember one thing." Jason pointed his index finger at Amelia's face, his voice full of menace. "Do not ever, for a single second, admit that you are my wife. If anyone asks, you say you're a household assistant or a nanny. Understood?" "I understand, Jason," Amelia replied quietly. "And one more thing," Carol added in her shrill voice. "Don't wear your shabby, onion-smelling clothes. Find something a bit neater, but not too nice either. We don't want people mistaking you for an invited guest. Basically, wear something modest so you don't look like a vagrant who wandered in, but it has to be clear that you're our subordinate. Got it?" "I understand, Carol. I'll find something suitable," Amelia said again. Jason snorted and looked back at the invitation with pride. "Good. Now get back to work, and don't forget to iron my black velvet suit. I want to wear it to match Rachel's dress." Jason and Carol then went into the living room, busy calling Rachel to share the good news. The sound of their laughter filled the air as they imagined how they would be the center of attention at the event. After they left, Amelia continued mopping the floor. Her movements were calm and steady, but in her mind, she was finalizing the last details of her plan. Later that night, when Jason was sound asleep, his soft snores filling the room, Amelia quietly slipped out onto the balcony. The night air cooled her face, offering a brief respite from the burning in her heart. She called Chloe again. "The invitation has arrived and been opened, Chloe," Amelia reported in a firm whisper. "Their reaction was exactly as we predicted. Jason is taking Rachel as his date, and I'm being brought along as their porter." On the other end of the line, Chloe let out a frustrated sigh. "That's outrageous. They truly have no heart. Ma'am, are you sure you can handle being treated like that in front of so many people? Many of your business partners will be there." Amelia smiled faintly at the cloud-covered moon. "That's exactly what I want, Chloe. Let them show their true colors in front of everyone. The lower they place me, the higher they will fall when the truth is revealed." "Have you prepared the instructions for security at the entrance?" "Yes, ma'am. I've briefed the security chief. They will not ask you for a physical invitation. The moment you arrive, even walking behind them, the security team will let you pass without inspection. As for Rachel, we will let her in only because she is with Mr. Jason." "Good. And about the bag on display?" Amelia paused, her eyes glinting sharply. "Make sure the Queen's dignity is placed in the most strategic spot, but without tight security right in front of it. I want to see how brazen Rachel's hands can be." "Consider it done, Miss Amelia. Oh, and the gown for your appearance in the final session is ready in your private dressing room backstage. It's emerald green, just as you ordered. It will be a stunning contrast to the simple look you'll arrive in." "Thank you, Chloe. We'll see who has the last laugh." Amelia ended the call. She went back into the bedroom and looked at her husband's sleeping face, devoid of any guilt. Jason was likely dreaming of luxury and praise, unaware that he was walking straight into the abyss he had dug for himself. Amelia pulled up her blanket, readying herself for the fast-approaching day of retribution. The chapter of her suffering as an oppressed wife was about to end, replaced by a chapter of just judgment. The long-awaited day finally arrived. The late afternoon sky was clear, as if preparing to welcome the grand event at the most luxurious five-star hotel in the heart of the city. The towering skyscraper, its glass windows reflecting the golden sunlight, would stand as a silent witness to a night where prestige and luxury were on the line. At Jason's residence, the hustle had begun since noon. It was not a warm kind of busy, but a frantic rush filled with tension and the cloying scent of expensive perfume. Jason stood before a large mirror in the living room, admiring himself in a slim-fit black velvet tuxedo paired with a bow tie. He felt like a king tonight, powerful and dashing. Meanwhile, Carol sat on the sofa being fanned by Amelia. The older woman wore a gaudy gold brocade gown, excessively adorned with sparkling sequins. Around her neck was a large pearl necklace of questionable authenticity, and of course, the scarf from Rachel was wrapped tightly around her shoulders. "Amelia, fan me properly! Don't touch my hair, you'll ruin my updo!" Carol snapped, swatting Amelia's hand away. "You can't even do a simple task right. I don't know why Jason ever put up with you." Amelia remained silent, stepping back slightly while continuing to wave the hand fan. She wore a neatly ironed plain white blouse, a knee-length black skirt, and black flat shoes. Her hair was pulled back into a simple, tidy ponytail. Her appearance was clean and proper, but in the eyes of Jason and his mother, she looked no different from a restaurant waitress. Soon, the sound of a car horn came from the front gate. A fiery red sports sedan pulled up, and Rachel emerged with the air of an A-list celebrity. She wore a blood-red mermaid-style evening gown that was daringly tight, showcasing her curves. Her hair was styled in flowing curls, and her face was heavily made up. In her hand, she carried a glittering silver clutch. "Jason! Auntie Carol!" Rachel called out in a deliberately coy voice as she entered the house. Jason was instantly captivated. He greeted Rachel with a broad smile and open arms. "Wow, Rachel, you are absolutely perfect. We're definitely going to be the best-looking couple there tonight." Carol immediately stood up, embracing Rachel with an exaggerated air kiss. "Oh, my future daughter-in-law is so beautiful. The three of us look like a royal family. It's perfect." Then, Rachel's eyes landed on Amelia, who stood motionless in the corner. A smirk played on Rachel's lips. She walked over to Amelia, looking her up and down with a condescending glare. "So, Amelia is coming too, Jason?" Rachel asked, feigning surprise, though she already knew the plan. "Of course," Jason replied casually, adjusting his watch. "We need someone to carry our things. We can't have you or Mom struggling with shopping bags. Your hands might get scraped." Rachel let out a brittle laugh, a sound that was painful to Amelia's ears. "That's true, but what's with that outfit? She looks like a catering waitress, but I guess it suits her. That way people won't mistake her for an actual guest." "All right, let's go, or we'll be late. The red carpet will be empty soon," Carol urged impatiently. They walked out to Jason's luxury car. Rachel didn't hesitate to take the front passenger seat next to Jason. Carol sat comfortably in the back. As for Amelia, she was relegated to the cramped third row, squeezed between several boxes of shoes and spare bags belonging to Rachel and Carol. Throughout the drive, Amelia could only see the backs of her husband and another woman, laughing and joking as if she didn't exist. Upon arriving at the hotel lobby, the scene was truly magnificent. Dozens of luxury cars were lined up for valet parking. Spotlights illuminated the entrance, and photographers were poised by the red carpet. When it was Jason's car's turn, a valet promptly opened the door. Jason got out first, then, like a gentleman, opened the door for Rachel. The two of them stepped out with their chins held high, basking in the camera flashes, though the photographers were actually waiting for the celebrity in the car behind them. Carol followed, making a grand exit and waving as if she were an important official. Amelia got out last from the back door, with no one to open it for her. She emerged carrying Carol's large bag filled with medication, water, and makeup. As her feet touched the red carpet, Amelia felt a different kind of thrill. It wasn't insecurity, but a sense of ownership. This building, this event, it was all under the control of her foundation. Near the main entrance, several well-built security guards in black suits stood watch. The head of security, a burly man named Mr. Davies, caught sight of Amelia. He almost bowed instinctively, but Amelia quickly gave him a subtle glance, a brief flicker of her eyes, and a slight shake of her head. Mr. Davies, understanding the situation, immediately straightened up, feigning ignorance. However, he discreetly signaled his men to allow Amelia's group to pass without the usual rigorous invitation check. "Hurry up! Don't be so slow!" Carol hissed, glancing back to glare at Amelia, who was walking 5 paces behind them. "Don't walk too close. People will think we're with the help." Amelia nodded obediently and slowed her pace. They entered the grand ballroom, which had been transformed into a paradise for fashion lovers. A giant crystal chandelier cast a brilliant glow, illuminating rows of glass showcases displaying exotic leather handbags from around the world. The clinking of champagne glasses and the polite chatter of socialites filled the room. Jason was buzzing with excitement. He immediately pulled Rachel along to greet some business associates he knew. "Mr. Henderson, how are you?" Jason greeted a middle-aged man holding a glass of wine. Mr. Henderson turned and smiled politely. "Ah, Jason, doing well. And who is this with you?" "A lovely companion." Jason puffed out his chest with pride. "This is Rachel, my special partner for the evening." "Mr." Henderson nodded in admiration, then his eyes accidentally fell upon Amelia, who stood quietly behind Jason holding the large bag. Mr. Henderson's brow furrowed. He felt like he recognized Amelia's face, but her simple attire made him doubt himself. "And the woman in the back?" Jason's face tensed slightly. He shot a sharp glance at Amelia. "Oh, that's just my mother's assistant. You know how older people are, they need someone to look after their things when they go out." "I see, Mr." Henderson replied, not finishing his sentence, only offering an awkward smile. Inwardly, he felt it was strange. The aura of the assistant felt so calm and dignified, a stark contrast to her clothes. Rachel, feeling the attention shift, quickly pulled Jason's arm. "Darling, let's go over there. I see a display of crocodile skin bags in the most adorable color." They moved on, leaving Mr. Henderson still staring at Amelia with a puzzled expression. The deeper they went into the room, the more apparent Rachel and Carol's tacky behavior became. Rachel shamelessly pointed at the displayed bags, even trying to touch the glass showcases with fingers greasy from eating canapés, forcing the staff to repeatedly wipe the glass with annoyed expressions. "Mom, look at this one. The price tag says $200,000. If I wore this to my luncheon, my friends would faint," Rachel exclaimed, her voice far too loud for such a classy event. "Yes, dear, have Jason buy it for you. You deserve a bag that expensive." As for Amelia, she should be grateful for a plastic grocery bag, Carol chimed in, cackling loudly enough for Amelia to hear. Amelia stood silently by a pillar, observing their behavior with a cold gaze. She saw the falseness of their interactions. Jason, obsessed with his image, Rachel, blinded by greed, and Carol, desperate for respect. Suddenly, Rachel turned to Amelia and snapped her fingers. "Hey, you, come here." Amelia walked over. "Yes, Miss Rachel?" "Call me Miss Rachel." "Mrs. makes me sound old," Rachel protested sharply. She shoved her empty glass into Amelia's hand. "Here, find a waiter and get me a cold orange juice. I'm thirsty from all this talking. And be quick about it. My feet are killing me from standing." Amelia took the empty glass. She looked at Rachel for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Yes, miss." As Amelia walked toward the refreshment table, she passed Chloe, who was disguised as an event organizer with a name tag. Chloe looked at Amelia with teary eyes, unable to bear seeing her boss treated like a servant. But Amelia offered a faint, reassuring smile, as if to say, "Patience, it will be over soon." Jason, Rachel, and Carol were oblivious that they were being watched, not just by security cameras, but by a fate that was about to turn the tables on them. They continued toward the main area, where a mysterious handbag, veiled under red velvet, awaited its reveal as the star of the evening, the very bag that would trigger the downfall of their arrogance. The atmosphere in the center of the grand ballroom grew more crowded and vibrant. All eyes were now fixed on a circular glass podium in the heart of the room. There, under a dramatic spotlight, sat a handbag of such breathtaking beauty it could hypnotize anyone who looked at it. It was the Queen's Dignity, the masterpiece and main attraction of the night. The bag was crafted from the highest quality rare leather, a deep black that shimmered mysteriously. The clasp was a small, diamond-encrusted crown that glittered, reflecting the light from the crystal chandeliers above. There was no price tag, as everyone knew its value was immeasurable, obtainable only through a private auction for a select few. Jason, Rachel, and Carol pushed their way to the front row, not wanting to miss a chance to see the legendary bag up close. Rachel even elbowed a socialite out of her way without apology to get the best spot for a selfie. "Oh my God, that's the bag, Jason! It's absolutely stunning!" Rachel shrieked, clutching Jason's arm tightly. Her eyes shone with a wild, worldly desire. "Jason, if I had that bag, I would instantly become the queen of New York's social scene. You have to get it for me, promise me? Jason swallowed hard. Though he was a successful businessman, he knew a bag of this caliber was far beyond his current financial reach. But, for the sake of his pride in front of his mistress, he nodded firmly. Don't worry, darling. I'll bid on it later. Anything for you. Carol chimed in, her eyes wide with awe. Yes, Jason, you have to get it. Imagine if Rachel carried this to my luncheon. Oh, I could brag for a lifetime. Don't let it fall into anyone else's hands. Behind them, Amelia stood silently. Her heart stirred, not from a desire to own the bag, but because she knew it intimately. Every stitch, every curve, even the choice of diamonds on the crown, it was all the result of her own thoughts and designs over many months. The bag was a symbol of the dedication and self-worth she had poured into her art, a silent message that true elegance doesn't need to shout. Unconsciously, Amelia's feet moved forward, slipping through a small gap between Jason and Rachel. She felt drawn to her own creation. She noticed a fine speck of dust on the lower part of the glass case, right in front of the bag. Her designer's instinct for perfection kicked in. Amelia's hand rose slowly, intending to wipe the glass so the view of her masterpiece would be flawless. However, before her fingertips could touch the glass, another hand slapped hers away, hard and forceful. The sound was loud enough to make several people nearby turn in surprise. Rachel stood there, her face red with rage. Her eyes glared at Amelia as if she had just committed the most heinous crime. "Don't touch it!" Rachel shrieked, her voice piercing the ballroom's buzz. Amelia pulled her hand back, cradling her reddened wrist from Rachel's blow. She looked at Rachel calmly, but her eyes were turning cold. "I was just going to—" "Shut up." Rachel cut her off furiously, jabbing a pointed finger at Amelia's face. "Who do you think you are, daring to touch this display case? Look at that, it's priceless. A limited edition. You couldn't buy that bag for $1 million. Rachel stepped forward, forcing Amelia back. "Look at your hands. They're rough from washing dishes. They smell of onions. If this glass gets smudged by your greasy fingerprints, who's going to take responsibility? Are you going to pay for damages? You could sell a kidney, and you still wouldn't be able to pay if there was even the slightest scratch." The area around them fell silent. The elegant guests were now whispering amongst themselves, looking at Amelia with disgust, swayed by Rachel's provocation. They saw Amelia's simple appearance and immediately judged her as someone with no manners. Jason, seeing the commotion, didn't defend his wife. Instead, he was mortified. His face flushed, not with anger at Rachel, but with rage at Amelia for what he saw as public humiliation. He quickly put an arm around Rachel's waist to calm her, then shot Amelia a look filled with hatred. "Amelia," Jason hissed through clenched teeth, "you are a complete embarrassment. I told you your job was just to carry things, not to gawk at luxury items. Know your place. You're only here because we let you in." Carol, not to be outdone, stepped forward and shoved Amelia's shoulder, making her stumble backward. "You country bumpkin, the second you see something nice, your hands get itchy. That bag is for ladies, for classy people like Rachel, not for a maid like you. Now back off, don't ruin the view." "That's right, Auntie," Rachel added, now with a mocking tone, her arms crossed. She looked at Amelia with a triumphant, wicked smile. "Besides, Amelia, you wouldn't look right carrying an expensive bag like this. If you wore it, it would just look like something you bought at a thrift store. You have an aura of poverty. It would never match with something this high class." Jason laughed at the insult, a loud, genuine laugh. "Ha ha, you're right, darling. It's like putting a diamond on a pig. It's still a pig. Pointless." Amelia swallowed the bitter taste of humiliation that rained down upon her heart. In front of hundreds of pairs of eyes, her dignity was stripped bare by the husband she devoted her life to, by the mother-in-law she cared for, and by the strange woman destroying her marriage. But Amelia did not cry. Not a single tear fell. Instead, she straightened her back. In her mind, Amelia said, "Laugh, Jason. Laugh all you want now. Enjoy your last laugh. Because soon, I will be the one who decides who laughs and who cries tears of blood." "I'm sorry," Amelia said curtly, her voice flat and emotionless. She took a few steps back, away from the display, letting Rachel and Carol reclaim the spot. Rachel smiled, satisfied, feeling she had won the battle. She snuggled up to Jason again. "See, Jason? People like her need to be taught their place. She just ruined my mood. Forget about it. It's nothing." "Let's take another picture in front of the bag," Jason comforted her, stroking Rachel's hair, completely ignoring Amelia, who now stood alone outside the crowd. Just then, the ballroom lights began to dim. The soft orchestral music faded. A baritone voice from the speakers filled the room, signaling the start of the main event. "Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. The main event of the evening is about to begin. Please take your seats. In a few moments, we will welcome a very special individual who is the key to tonight's masterpiece." Jason, Rachel, and Carol hurried to their front row VIP seats, their faces beaming with excitement. They had no idea that the real hot seat was waiting for them. And the special individual the MC was referring to was now walking slowly toward the backstage area, preparing to shed her mask of a useless wife and wear her true crown. The dimmed lights of the ballroom created an intimate yet tense atmosphere among the hundreds of guests. In the very front row, in seats of red velvet reserved for VIPs, Jason sat with a straight back, trying to project an aura of success that was, in reality, fragile. To his right, Rachel sat with her legs elegantly crossed, occasionally adjusting her dress to make the slit more alluring. To his left, Carol was busy taking pictures of the stage with her phone, tacky yet full of pride. "Wow, this place is incredible, Jason," Carol whispered, without looking away from her phone. "Look, isn't that the owner of that famous TV network sitting across from us? And over in the corner, that's a senator's wife. We're really on their level now." Jason smiled with satisfaction, nodding slowly. "I know, Mom. That's why I say connections are important. Rachel brought us this good fortune. If it weren't for her positive aura, we might not have the confidence to be sitting here." Rachel, hearing her name, preened and leaned her head on Jason's shoulder. "Oh, Jason, you're too kind, but it's true, isn't it? Imagine if you had brought Amelia. Ugh, she would just be gawking like a country bumpkin, embarrassing us in front of the senator's wife." Hearing Amelia's name, Carol turned to look for her daughter-in-law. Her eyes narrowed, piercing through the dimness, until she found Amelia standing stiffly near a large pillar, far behind the guest seating and separated by a velvet rope. Amelia stood alone, clutching Carol's large bag, looking like a lonely statue in the middle of a grand party. Carol snorted and waved her hand dismissively, as if shooing away a stray cat. "Hey, Amelia!" Carol hissed, trying to keep her voice down but sharp enough to be heard. "What are you doing standing there? You're an eyesore. Move further back. Wait near the restrooms or the service exit. Don't let your pitiful face get caught by the press cameras when they pan to us. You'll bring us bad luck." Amelia looked at her mother-in-law from a distance. Her face remained flat. There was no trace of the sadness she usually showed when being scolded at home. She just nodded slowly, as obedient as ever. Without a word of protest, she turned and walked away, heading toward a dark hallway beside the stage marked "Staff Only." "Good," Jason muttered, relieved to see his wife disappear from view. Finally, some peace of mind. "I swear, Rachel, I was so scared she would have the nerve to sit in the empty seat next to us. My reputation would be ruined if people knew the director of a real estate firm had such a grimy wife." Rachel giggled, her hands busy fiddling with Jason's bow tie. "Relax, Jason. She knows her place. She knows she belongs in the back, in the kitchen, not on a grand stage like us. Besides, a woman like her has no guts. She's probably crying in a bathroom stall right now, eating leftover catering." The three of them laughed softly, a laugh filled with false satisfaction. They felt they had conquered the world, that they were at the top of the food chain, completely unaware that the ground beneath them was about to crumble. Meanwhile, Amelia walked down the long, quiet hallway. The sounds of laughter and music from the ballroom slowly faded, replaced by the echo of her own footsteps on the marble floor. As she rounded a corner, a large security guard who had been standing sternly suddenly bowed respectfully upon seeing her. "Good evening, Miss Sterling. Please, this way, miss. Chloe is waiting for you in the VVIP room at the end of the hall." the guard said politely, a stark contrast to the treatment Amelia had just received. Amelia paused. She turned to the guard and offered a small, sincere smile full of power. "Thank you. Please ensure this access door is locked securely after I enter. I don't want any trash following me into this sterile area." "Yes, ma'am, it will be done." Amelia continued on, pushing open a set of carved wooden double doors. Behind them lay a luxurious dressing room with a velvet sofa, a large mirror framed by bright lights, and a clothing rack displaying an exclusive pantsuit. Chloe, her friend and confidant, was pacing nervously, tablet in hand. The moment she saw Amelia enter in her shabby assistant's attire, Chloe's eyes welled with tears. She rushed over. "Miss Sterling!" Chloe's voice was choked with emotion. "I saw it on the security monitor just now. They were completely out of line. That Rachel woman. How dare she slap your hand? The hand that has designed thousands of creations, the hand that feeds hundreds of employees, slapped away by that parasite." Amelia carelessly dropped Carol's large bag on the floor. She took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, shedding the weight of the role she had been playing. "Save your tears, Chloe," Amelia said calmly, starting to undo her messy ponytail. Her long, black hair cascaded beautifully down her back. "Don't cry over an insult that I deliberately allowed to happen. I needed them to feel on top of the world first. I needed them to feel untouchable, because the higher they fly on their arrogance, the more satisfying the sound will be when they come crashing down." Chloe wiped her tears away and nodded firmly, her fighting spirit reignited. "You're right. They've walked right into the trap. Oh, the MC, Mr. Sterling, is ready on stage. He's delaying the opening for 5 more minutes per your instructions, giving you time to prepare." Amelia walked to the large mirror, looking at her reflection in the cheap white blouse and black skirt. Slowly, she began to unbutton her shirt. "Enough with the Cinderella drama," she murmured to her reflection. "Tonight, Amelia, Jason's foolish and submissive wife, is dead. Tonight, the woman who walks out of this room is Amelia Sterling, the sole owner of Aurelia Holdings and chairwoman of the nation's Hope Foundation." Amelia reached for the emerald green pantsuit hanging neatly on the rack. The fine silk felt cool against her skin, yet it provided a comforting warmth of confidence. The cut was sharp and elegant, radiating an undeniable aura of power. Chloe skillfully applied Amelia's makeup, not a heavy mask like Rachel's, but a natural touch that highlighted her strong, intelligent features. A swipe of crimson lipstick added a bold accent. Meanwhile, back in the grand ballroom, the stage lights began to shine brightly. The famous MC, Richard Sterling, walked confidently to the center of the stage, microphone in hand. "Good evening, esteemed ladies and gentlemen," Richard greeted, his booming baritone filling the hall. Richard's voice echoed again, cutting through the now sacred silence of the ballroom. Hundreds of pairs of eyes were fixed on the stage, holding their breath in anticipation of the mysterious genius behind the night's luxury. "Ladies and gentlemen," Richard continued, his tone rising to build the perfect tension, "for the past 5 years, the fashion world has wondered about the identity behind the iconic designs that sell out in seconds. The person who chose to work in silence, letting their creations speak louder than their own name. Tonight, for the first time ever, she has agreed to remove the mask." In the VIP seats, Jason nudged his mother. "Get the camera ready, Mom. Make sure you get a good angle. When the person comes out, we'll be the first to stand up to show our enthusiasm. Maybe they'll notice us." Carol nodded quickly, clutching her phone with slightly trembling hands. "Don't worry, Jason. I'm zoomed in all the way. I'm going to be the first person to post this designer's face on social media." Rachel adjusted her hair, ensuring her best side faced the stage. "Oh, I'm so excited. I hope they're handsome, or at least incredibly fashionable. Let us welcome." With the most thunderous round of applause, Richard announced, extending his hand toward the giant velvet curtain behind him, "the lead designer of the Queen's Dignity and the sole owner of Aurelia Holdings, Miss Amelia Sterling." The orchestra swelled into a magnificent crescendo. The blinding spotlight shot to a single point, the parting curtain. From behind it emerged a slender silhouette. Her footsteps were firm, tapping a rhythm of confidence on the stage floor. As the figure stepped into the light, the audience gasped at the elegance of the woman in the emerald green pantsuit that perfectly hugged her form. Her long black hair flowed beautifully, shining under the lights. Her face, with its natural makeup, radiated an undeniable authority. A thunderous applause filled the room. Everyone rose to their feet in respect. But in the front row, 3 people remained frozen in their seats as if struck by lightning. Jason, who had been ready to stand and clap, was now frozen with his mouth half open. He blinked rapidly, trying to process what he was seeing, his brain refusing to believe the signals from his eyes. "Rachel," Jason whispered in a hoarse, barely audible voice. "Isn't that—" Rachel, who was holding her drink, nearly dropped the crystal glass. Her face, once a picture of coy smiles, was now deathly pale. Her eyes were wide with horror as she stared at the woman on stage. "No way. That's Amelia. What is your maid doing on stage? Has she lost her mind?" Carol's reaction was even worse. The phone she was holding slipped from her grasp and fell silently onto the carpet. She rubbed her eyes repeatedly, hoping it was just a hallucination. "Jason!" Carol shrieked in a choked voice. "That's your wife! That's Amelia! Why is she wearing such nice clothes? Whose clothes did she steal? Get her off the stage! She's making a fool of us. People will think a crazy person wandered up there." Panicked, Jason started to get up, his face red with rage. He thought Amelia had brazenly decided to humiliate him by sneaking onto the stage in a stolen outfit. How dare she? "She's really asking for it. I'll drag her down myself." Just as Jason lifted himself from his seat, ready to shout at Amelia, Richard Sterling, the highly respected MC, bowed deeply to her. It was a gesture of profound respect, one given only by a subordinate to their highest superior. "Good evening, Miss Sterling," Richard said into the microphone, his voice clear throughout the room. "It is an honor for all of us that you have finally agreed to stand here." Jason's movement halted. His legs went weak, and he fell back into his chair. "What?" he mumbled, a cold sweat breaking out on his brow. Richard called her Miss Sterling. "Not ma'am, not miss, Miss Sterling." Amelia accepted the microphone from Richard with a faint smile. She stood center stage, right next to the showcase displaying the Queen's dignity. Her eyes swept across the room, taking in the hundreds of guests who looked at her with admiration. Then, her gaze stopped at the front row. It locked onto the eyes of Jason, Rachel, and Carol, who now looked like trapped mice. Amelia didn't greet them. She just held their gaze for 3 seconds that felt like 3 centuries to them. It wasn't the look of a wife afraid of her husband's anger. It was the look of a queen observing treasonous subjects. "Thank you," Amelia said, her voice clear, calm, and authoritative through the speakers, a stark contrast to the timid voice Jason was used to hearing at home. "Thank you for the warm welcome. My name is Amelia. Some of you may know me as a business partner through emails or phone calls, and some of you may know me only as a woman unworthy of touching luxury goods." That last sentence was delivered with a sharp glance at Rachel. Rachel's heart felt like it stopped. She remembered her own shouted words. "You wouldn't look right carrying an expensive bag like this." Now, those words slapped her back across the face. "Wait a minute, Jason," Carol whispered, her voice trembling violently. She gripped Jason's sleeve so tightly her nails dug in. "What did the MC say? The owner of Aurelia Holdings. Isn't that the massive corporation that's the main investor in your new apartment project?" Jason swallowed, the lump in his throat feeling like a rock. His face was no longer red with anger, but pale with absolute terror. "Yes, Mom. Aurelia Holdings. They hold the majority stake in my company. If the owner gets angry, she could fire me and dissolve the company whenever she wants." Jason looked at Amelia on the stage with a dazed expression. His mind raced, connecting all the dots he had ignored for so long. No wonder Amelia never demanded more money. No wonder she was always so calm when he insulted her. All this time, he had been sleeping next to a lioness, pretending to be asleep. "So, all this time," Jason stammered, his breath catching in his chest. "The wife I told to mop the floors, the one I said smelled of onions, the one I made carry Rachel's shopping bags, she's my boss." On stage, Amelia smiled a beautiful, yet deadly smile. She raised her hand, and instantly, a giant screen behind her lit up, displaying the magnificent Aurelia Holdings logo next to a design sketch of the Queen's dignity, bearing Amelia's authentic signature in the corner. "Tonight," Amelia continued, "I want to clarify one thing about the definition of luxury. Some people think luxury lies in the brand names they wear or in how loudly they can insult others." Amelia walked slowly toward the edge of the stage, getting closer to where Jason sat. "But to me, true luxury is integrity. Luxury is loyalty. And the most expensive thing of all is a sense of self-worth that cannot be bought with a husband's money, especially money he made by deceiving his own wife." A roar of applause erupted again. Many guests cheered in agreement. But for Jason, Rachel, and Carol, every clap sounded like a judge's gavel sealing the death sentence for their social and economic lives. They wanted to run, to hide, but their legs were too weak to even stand. They were trapped in their VIP seats, which now felt like electric chairs, forced to witness the rise of the woman they had spent so long trampling on. Amelia walked slowly toward the glass case displaying the Queen's dignity. Her slender fingers, no longer looking rough, gently touched the glass as if greeting an old friend. The entire room held its breath. Not a single security guard dared to stop her. Even when Amelia did what was forbidden for any other guest, she unlocked the case. The sound of the lock clicking open was crisp over the still live microphone. Amelia took out the multi-million-dollar handbag with ease, holding it with one hand as if it were no heavier than the grocery bags she used to carry. "Earlier this evening," Amelia began again, her voice calm but piercing. "In this very spot where I now stand, a woman slapped my hand away." Amelia looked directly at Rachel, whose face was now ashen. Rachel's body trembled uncontrollably in her seat. She gripped Jason's knee, searching for support, but Jason himself was as stiff as an ice sculpture. "That woman screamed at me," Amelia continued, perfectly mimicking Rachel's tone without exaggeration. "She said, 'Don't touch it, it's expensive. You'll never be able to afford it. Besides, you're not worthy of wearing a bag like this.'" Gasps rippled through the audience. They began whispering, looking around to identify the culprit. "And what hurt even more," Amelia said, shifting her gaze to Jason, her expression a mix of pity and disappointment. "My own husband, the man I devoted my life to serving from morning till night, laughed along with her. He told me I needed to know my place, because I was just a freeloader." Jeers and disapproving murmurs started to rise from sympathetic guests. Amelia raised her left hand, asking for silence. The room instantly quieted. "I'm not angry," Amelia said softly. "I just want to ask all of you here tonight, what makes a person worthy of holding luxury? Is it money? Is it appearance? Or is it a pure heart?" Amelia descended from the stage, walking down the small steps with grace. Her heels clicked against the marble floor with an intimidating rhythm. She walked through the crowd, straight toward the VIP section. Guests in the front row instinctively pulled their feet back, making way for the Queen. Jason felt like his heart was about to burst. He wanted to run, but his feet were nailed to the floor. He could only look down, not daring to meet the eyes of his wife, who now stood towering before him. Carol tried to hide her face with the silk scarf Rachel had given her, hoping Amelia wouldn't see her. Amelia stopped directly in front of Rachel. The scent of Amelia's expensive perfume filled the air, overpowering Rachel's cloying fragrance. "Stand up," Amelia commanded quietly. Rachel shook her head in panic, tears welling in her mascara-laden eyes. "No, please, Miss Sterling, I'm sorry." "I said, stand up," Amelia repeated, her tone firmer this time, filled with an authority that could not be defied. With trembling knees, Rachel forced herself to her feet. She looked small and pathetic before Amelia, despite wearing taller heels. Amelia held out the authentic, the Queen's Dignity handbag to Rachel. "You said I wasn't worthy of touching this because my hands smelled of onions and were rough. Now, I'm giving you permission to hold it. Take it." Rachel stumbled back, shaking her head vigorously. "No, I can't. I'm so sorry." Amelia smirked. She pulled the bag back. "See? You don't even have the courage to hold the responsibility that comes with luxury. You're only brave enough to insult someone who appears weak, but you cower before real power." Then, Amelia's eyes fell on the clutch bag Rachel was clutching tightly, the one she had been flaunting all evening. "And one more thing, Miss Rachel," Amelia said, her voice rising slightly so everyone could hear. "As a designer who has worked with genuine leather for decades, let me tell you a secret." Amelia pointed at Rachel's bag with the tip of her microphone. "The bag you're so proud of is a fake." Rachel's eyes widened. "What? No, that's impossible. This was a gift from my father. It's real." The stitching on the handle is off by 3 millimeters, and the gold tone of the logo is too yellow. "It's characteristic of a low-quality counterfeit from the black market," Amelia explained with deadly precision. "You call me poor, yet you cover yourself in lies. A fake bag, imitation jewelry, and a social status you invented yourself." Chuckles spread through the audience as whispers of, "Oh, it's a knockoff," began to circulate. Rachel's face turned beet red with a shame so profound she wished the earth would swallow her whole. Her web of lies had been unraveled in front of the very socialites she had desperately wanted to impress. Amelia then turned her gaze to Carol. Her mother-in-law was now shaking violently, cold sweat ruining her heavily powdered face. "And you, Mom," Amelia addressed her coldly. "The scarf you're wearing is made of coarse polyester, not silk. If you got too close to a flame, it would melt and burn your skin, just as your arrogance has burned down your own son's marriage." Carol instinctively ripped the scarf from her neck and threw it on the floor as if it were poisoned. "Amelia, I didn't know. I was just—" Blinded by greed, Amelia cut her off. "You valued a stranger bearing fake gifts more than your own daughter-in-law who sincerely cared for you when you were sick, who cooked for you every morning and washed your clothes with her own hands." Finally, Amelia looked at Jason. Her husband was still looking down, his shoulders heaving with ragged breaths. "Jason," Amelia called. He slowly lifted his face. His eyes were wet with a mixture of regret, fear, and shame. "Amelia, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I didn't know that you—" "If you knew, you would have treated me better?" Amelia asked. "So if I had remained poor, if I still smelled of onions, your treatment would have stayed the same? You would still cheat on me? You would still let your mother insult me?" Jason was silenced. His tongue felt thick and useless. "Money can buy this bag, Jason," Amelia said, holding the Queen's dignity high. "Your money, or rather, the money I injected into your company, can buy luxury cars, a grand house, and the expensive suit you're wearing." Amelia leaned closer to Jason, looking deep into his eyes. "But no amount of money can ever buy back the dignity of a wife you have trampled on in public. My dignity doesn't lie in this bag, Jason. It lies in my ability to stand tall tonight, without you." Amelia turned her back on them. "Richard," she called into the microphone. "Yes, miss." "Sterling," he replied promptly from the stage. "Continue the auction. And please, call security," Amelia commanded, calm but firm. "There are 3 intruders in the VIP section disturbing my guests. Please ensure they are escorted out of this building immediately. And oh, make sure Miss Rachel's drink tab is paid in full before they leave. I do not treat traitors." Amelia walked back to the stage with victorious strides, met by a roaring standing ovation from the entire audience. Behind her, 2 large security guards approached Jason, Rachel, and Carol, ready to drag them out of the beautiful dream that had just become their most terrifying nightmare. The glass doors of the hotel lobby slammed shut with a heavy thud behind Jason, Carol, and Rachel. Just moments ago, they had entered like royalty. Now, they stood on the cold sidewalk like beggars cast out of a palace. Inside, the party continued, the faint sound of music celebrating Amelia's triumph. But out here, the night wind bit at their bones, mocking the fate that had turned 180 degrees in the blink of an eye. "Let go of me! You're being so rough!" Carol shrieked, flailing as a security guard held her arm. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Her hair was disheveled, and her face was a mess of smudged makeup and sweat. The guard released her with a flat expression. "Our apologies, ma'am. We are following the orders of the event's owner. You are not permitted within 100 yards of this building." Jason stood frozen, staring blankly at the lobby doors. The black velvet tuxedo he had been so proud of now felt like a shroud strangling him. He fumbled in his pocket for his car keys, desperate to escape. But before he could move, a hotel waiter rushed out, holding a tray with a bill. "Sir, please wait a moment," the waiter called. Jason turned wearily. "What now?" "I'm sorry, sir, but the bill for the 3 bottles of imported wine and appetizers ordered by Miss Rachel at your VIP table has not been paid. The total is $1,500, the waiter stated politely but firmly. Jason's eyes bulged. $1,500? Are you crazy? That is the standard price for the vintage wine that was ordered, sir. Please pay, or we will be forced to call the police for theft of services, the waiter threatened softly. Panicked, Jason pulled out his wallet and his platinum credit card, the one he always used to spoil Rachel. With a trembling hand, he gave it to the waiter, who held a portable card reader. The machine let out a long beep. "I'm sorry, sir." "The card was declined," the waiter said. "Try this one," Jason said, pulling out a second card. Beep. "Declined again, sir." "This one?" Jason tried a third, a fourth, and finally his personal debit card. All of them were rejected. Cold sweat poured down Jason's forehead. He realized that all those cards were supplementary, linked either to Amelia's main account or the company account, both of which were now monitored directly by Aurelia Holdings' finance department. In an instant, Amelia had cut off all his financial access. He was completely broke. "Rachel." Jason turned to her with a pleading look. "Do you have any cash or a card? Please, just pay for this. I'll pay you back." Rachel, who had been furiously typing on her phone, looked up in shock. Her pretty face was now hard and mean, her sweet mask shattered. "What? Pay $1,500? Do you think I carry that kind of cash? You said you were a rich director. You can't even pay for a few drinks?" "All my cards are blocked, Amelia." "Rachel, please, just help me this one time. We love each other, right?" Jason begged desperately. Rachel laughed, a cynical sound that made Jason's heart plummet. "Love? Get real, Jason. I was with you because I thought you were a money tree. If it turns out the roots belong to your onion-smelling wife, what use do I have for you? You're nothing but a parasite, living off your wife and acting like a big shot." Without another word, Rachel hailed a passing taxi. She jumped in without a backward glance at Jason and Carol. "Rachel, wait! Where are you going?" Jason yelled, chasing after it, but the taxi sped away, leaving him in a cloud of exhaust fumes. Carol sank onto the sidewalk, wailing like a child. "Jason, I'm so humiliated. My purse is still inside, my scarf is gone. Rachel left us. What are we going to do?" In the end, Jason had to leave his luxury watch as collateral with the hotel to avoid being reported to the police. They went home in the cheapest rideshare available, paid for with the spare change Carol had in her pocket. The journey home felt agonizingly long. When they arrived at their luxurious house, darkness greeted them. The porch lights were off. There was no welcoming aroma of cooking. The house was as dark and silent as a tomb. Jason opened the door with a spare key. Empty. Silent. He ran up the stairs to the master bedroom. The door was wide open. Amelia's side of the closet was completely empty. No clothes, no belongings. Even their wedding photo, which used to hang on the wall, was gone, leaving only an empty hook. On the cleared-off vanity table, only one item remained. The wedding ring Jason had placed on Amelia's finger 5 years ago. Next to it was a note in Amelia's neat handwriting. "This house is titled to Aurelia Holdings. The asset management team will arrive tomorrow morning to seal the property. Make sure you are gone before 8 a.m. Amelia." Carol, who had followed him into the room, read the note and fainted on the floor. Jason fell to his knees, clutching his hair in frustration. His cries of regret echoed through the empty house, but there was no one to hear him, no Amelia to bring him a glass of water, no Amelia to massage his shoulders. There was only a suffocating silence. They couldn't sleep that night, terrified of what the next day would bring. True to her word, before the sun was high, Jason desperately went to his office. He clung to a sliver of hope that his position as director was safe, that Amelia wouldn't be so cruel as to mix their personal life with his career. But that hope was shattered the moment he arrived at the lobby of the elite office building. When he swiped his employee access card at the turnstile, a red light flashed and a loud buzzer sounded. Access denied. Mr. Crawford, a security guard who usually treated him with respect, called out, now looking at him with a mix of pity and caution. "I'm sorry, sir. You are not permitted to enter." "Get out of my way! I'm the director here!" Jason yelled, trying to push past. Suddenly, Chloe emerged from the elevator. She was no longer in casual attire but in a formal business suit with a name tag that read, Chloe Vance, Chief Operating Officer, Aurelia Holdings. Behind her stood 2 lawyers and an HR representative. "Good morning, Mr. Crawford." Chloe greeted him coldly, not extending her hand. "Chloe, please, let me see Amelia." "I need to talk to her," Jason pleaded, his voice hoarse and desperate. Chloe shook her head slowly and handed him a thick brown envelope. "Miss Sterling does not wish to see you again. All communication must go through her lawyers. This is your letter of termination, effective immediately." Jason took the envelope with a trembling hand. "Termination? On what grounds? I built this company." "You are mistaken, sir," Chloe cut in sharply. "You merely managed a company that was 100% funded by Miss Sterling, and based on an internal audit we conducted last night, we found numerous misappropriations of company funds for your personal use, including the purchase of counterfeit handbags and entertainment expenses for a woman named Rachel." Jason's face went white. He felt dizzy. "Therefore," Chloe continued, her voice like a judge's verdict, "in addition to your termination, you are being sued for the full amount of the embezzled funds. The company car you drive, the house you live in, and all other corporate benefits are revoked as of today. If you do not vacate the company residence within 24 hours, we will involve the police for a forced eviction." Chloe looked Jason straight in the eye, her once respectful gaze now filled with disgust. "Mr. Crawford," she said before turning to leave, "Miss Sterling had a message for you. She said, 'Life is about choices. You chose to throw away a diamond to pick up a piece of broken glass. Now, enjoy that broken glass until you've had your fill.'" Chloe and her team turned and left Jason standing alone in the bustling lobby. People walking by whispered and pointed at him. The video of the incident at the exhibition had gone viral overnight. Jason Crawford, the arrogant young director, was now nothing more than an unemployed man drowning in debt and shame. He stumbled out of the building and sat on the curb, clutching his termination letter. His phone rang. It was Carol. "Jason, hurry home. There are big men here taking all our furniture. They say they're sealing the house. I'm scared, son. Where are we going to live?" Carol's sobs broke over the phone. Jason hung up. He looked up at the scorching city sky, but his world had gone completely dark. He remembered how often he had insulted Amelia for being a stay-at-home wife. It turned out the roof that had protected him from the sun and rain all along was Amelia's hand. And now, that hand had taken everything back, leaving him and his mother to be burned by the harsh sun of reality. Regret was no longer just a word. It was now his only companion for life. 6 months had passed since the night of the exhibition that changed everything. The wheel of fortune had spun cruelly for those who once looked down on the world with arrogance. In a narrow, crowded alley in a run-down part of the city, Jason sat lost in thought on the stoop of a tiny, one-room rental. Gone were the velvet tuxedos and designer watches. He was now thin, his skin darkened from spending his days under the sun as a food delivery driver on a rented scooter. From inside the room, separated only by a plastic wardrobe, came the sound of Carol's incessant coughing. The woman who once collected silk scarves now wore a tattered house dress. With no money for doctors, she relied on cheap, over-the-counter medicine. "Jason, we're out of water," Carol wheezed. Jason rose wearily, filled a plastic cup from a cheap water jug, and handed it to his mother. Carol looked at her son with hollow, regretful eyes. "Forgive me, son," Carol sobbed suddenly. "If I hadn't insulted Amelia, if I wasn't so greedy for a rich daughter-in-law like Rachel, we wouldn't be living like rats in a sewer." At the mention of Rachel, Jason's jaw tightened. The woman had vanished after that night. The last he heard, from a news report on a corner store TV, Rachel had been arrested for running a fraudulent socialite investment scheme and selling counterfeit goods. She was now in prison, reaping what she had sown. It turned out not only were her bags fake, but her entire life was a counterfeit. "It's no use, Mom. What's done is done," Jason replied softly. "This is my fault too. I was blind. I had a diamond at home and threw it away for a piece of glass." That afternoon, Jason got an order to deliver food to an elite office building downtown. Ironically, it was the headquarters of Aurelia Holdings. He hesitated, but his gnawing hunger forced him to accept. When he arrived, he parked his scooter in the designated area for drivers and walked toward the lobby with his helmet still on, trying to hide his face in shame. But fate had a cruel twist in store. The automatic glass doors slid open, and a group of smartly dressed people emerged, escorting a woman. She was dressed in an elegant business outfit, simple, yet radiating a powerful aura. It was Amelia. She was in a discussion with Chloe and several foreign associates. She looked more beautiful and radiant than she ever had as his wife. The mental burden that had suppressed her beauty was gone. Jason froze, his legs trembling. He unconsciously whispered her name, Amelia, but his voice was lost in the lobby's noise. However, Chloe's sharp ears caught it. She recognized the thin man in the green delivery jacket. She whispered something to Amelia. Amelia stopped and turned. Their eyes met. For a few seconds, time stood still. Jason slowly removed his helmet, revealing a weary, careworn face. He expected to see anger in her eyes, or perhaps mockery, but what he found was peace. Her gaze was as calm as a lake, no longer disturbed by thrown stones. Jason summoned the courage to approach, though a security guard stepped in his way. Amelia raised a hand, signaling the guard to let him pass. "How are you, Jason?" Amelia asked first, her voice even, without excessive emotion. Jason looked down, tears falling onto his jacket. "The way you see me, Amelia, ruined. I'm sorry. I know sorry isn't enough, but I truly regret everything. Mom is sick. I'm working odd jobs. We've received our karma." Amelia sighed softly. She felt no pleasure in his suffering, but also no desire to go back. "Jason," she said gently, "your suffering isn't my punishment. It's the consequence of your own choices. I gave you everything, my loyalty, my devotion, even my wealth for your company, but you chose not to see it." "I know, Amelia." "I was a fool," Jason sobbed, about to kneel on the cold marble floor. "Please, give me a second chance. I promise I'll change. I'll be a good husband. I'll take care of you." Amelia shook her head slowly, a faint, final smile on her lips. "You don't want to come back because you love me, Jason. You want to come back because you miss the comfort I provided. You miss my money, the lifestyle I gave you. Your self-worth still depends on what others can give you." Amelia took a slow step back. Chloe opened the door of a luxury car that was waiting. "Rebuild your life with your own two hands, Jason. Become a man who has his own dignity, who isn't blinded by false luxury. That's the only way you can atone for your mistakes. But as for us, our story ended in the chapter where you chose Rachel." "Amelia!" Jason cried out as she began to get into the car. Before the door closed, Amelia looked at him one last time. "Remember one thing, Jason. An expensive handbag can be replaced if it's lost. But the trust and heart of a sincere woman, once you shatter it, there isn't a factory in the world that can ever produce it again." The car door shut firmly. The sleek black car pulled away from the curb, carrying Amelia toward her bright future. Jason stood frozen in the lobby, an object of curiosity for passers-by. He clutched his helmet tightly. Amelia's words hit him harder than the poverty that now defined his life. He realized he had lost something far more valuable than a directorship or a luxury home. He had lost the only woman who had ever truly loved him for who he was, long before he knew she was wealthy. Jason wiped his tears, put his helmet back on, and walked defeatedly to his rented scooter. The city sky was just as hot, but now he had to face it alone. In the distance, Amelia glanced in the rearview mirror, then turned her gaze forward. She didn't look back again. She was no longer the woman waiting in the corner. She was the queen of her own castle, happy, dignified, and free. The moral of the story: wealth and physical appearance are temporary things that can vanish in an instant. A person's true luxury lies in their loyalty, integrity, and how they treat their partner, whether at their lowest point or at the peak of success. Never throw away a true diamond to chase after a glittering, fake pebble. because regret always comes too late, and a shattered sense of self-worth can never be bought back, no matter how much money you have.